to find the difference between the path of identity within brackets ego versus the middle path, Eightfold Noble Path. So we're going to actually use the sutra called Cūlavedalla Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya to discuss this topic. Vedalla means question, so Cūlavedalla means the shorter series of questions. So that's the meaning of the sutra. So first, I would like to talk about the background of the sutra. This is actually a conversation between a person called Vishaka, not Vishaka, Vishaka and Dhammadinna. So Dhammadinna was a nun. Actually, this is husband and wife. So wife became a nun, and she was an arahant. And Vishaka approached this nun, his former wife, and then there's a discussion going on. So now what we can see in the beginning of the sutra is that Vishaka poses some questions to Dhammadinna. So the first question, it's about the identity, or we call Sakkaya Ditthi in Pali, in other words ego. But identity in this context means things that we try to belong to in our life in the deeper sense. So he asked a question from the Dhammadinna Bhikkhuni nun. Sakkayo sakkayoti ayye vucchati katamanuko ayye sakkayo vutto bhavatati. So that means identity is said. What is called identity by the Blessed One? So this was the question posed by the Vishaka. And then Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna, she answers this question. Panchako ime avasu Vishaka upadanakkhandha sakkayo vutto bhagavata. Now, actually, there are 5 aggregates. We call them Panchaskandha, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana, which we call material form aggregate, feeling form aggregate, perception form aggregate, formations form aggregate, consciousness form aggregate. So these are the 5 aggregates. So these 5 aggregates affected by clinging are called identity. So in short, identity or Sakkaya Ditthi means 5 aggregates affected by clinging. Okay, so that's called Sakkaya or identity. Right? Now then, the questions actually keep going. Then he asks the origin of the identity, how identity is originated. And then it is a very famous answer by the Buddha that we all know. Tanha pono bhavika nandiraga sahagata tatra tatra abhinandini sayyatedang kama tanha bhava tanha vibhava tanha. So it's craving, but craving has 3 components: craving for sensual pleasures, craving for being, craving for non-being. Right? So these are the 3 types of craving. But anyway, craving is the origin of identity. Now this is a very nice place to know, to see the difference between what we know about the 4 Noble Truths and what this talks about, this 4-fold of classification. Now here there is identity. So the cause of identity is tanha or craving, which has 3 components called kama, bhava, vibhava, or craving for sensual pleasures, craving for being, craving for non-being. And what is the cessation of the identity? So that is nibbana. Tassa eva tanhaya asesa viraga nirodho chago patinissaggo muttyanada. It's the remainderless fading away and ceasing, the giving up, relinquishing, letting go, and rejecting of that same craving. Now we know this same format with suffering, but here it is replaced, suffering is replaced with identity. I guess what we will face with suffering, what we will face with identity is suffering at the end. But here it has actually related to identity rather than it was used to be discussed in suffering. So what's the way leading to the cessation of identity? How do we practice the path of cessation? So that is the Noble Eightfold. Now in the Noble Eightfold path, we get to see there are 8 components in that path: Samadhi, right view; Samma Sankappa, right view; Samma Vāyana, Kammanta, Samadhi, Samma Sankappa; Samma Vāca, Samma Kamma, right action; Samma Ājīva, right feeling; Samma Vāyana, right effort; Samma Sati, right mindfulness; Samma Samadhi, right concentration. But I have a problem in Samma. Is it really right or something else? So now Bhikkhuni Dhammadina said to Vishaka that the way leading to the cessation of identity is Noble Eightfold path. Looks like we have a sound problem. And then he asked further question: Lady, is that clinging the same as these 5 aggregates affected by clinging, or is the clinging something apart from the 5 aggregates affected by clinging? So he wants to find a difference between clinging and 5 aggregates. And then she says, clinging is neither the same as those 5 aggregates affected by clinging, nor is clinging something apart from the 5 aggregates affected by clinging. It is the desire and lust in regard to the 5 aggregates. So it's basically the clinging to the 5 aggregates. So that is called clinging at this point. So it's just the desire and lust in regard to the 5 aggregates: Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Viññāna. Now we talk about what is identity. Now Visakha goes on to ask few questions about how does the identity view arise in someone. And then Bhikkhuni Dhammadina answers to him, here, friend Visakha, an untaught ordinary person who has no regard for noble ones and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, who has no regard for true men and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma. Now there is a person who has no respect for the true people. True people means the people who are in one of the 4 spiritual stages. There are 8 people actually. The one who is striving to enter the stream winner, so on, Sotapatti, and the person who is already in the stream winner, Sotapanna. So there are 2 people. So one who is striving to be, the other one who has already entered. So there are 8 people. So this person has no regard, no concern towards them, which means he doesn't know the basic Dharma, the core of the Dharma. And also, he has no regard for the for the dharma actually, basically. And then what happens to him is he regards the 5 aggregates in a different context. He regards, let's take the first one, rupa aggregate, material form. He regards material form as self. So there are 4 ways of misunderstanding 5 aggregates. We actually picked up the first one, rupa. So he regards, or she regards, material form as self. Actually, material form is not self. Or self as possessed of material form. So self is something that is owned by the rupa skandha. Or material form as in self, rupa skandha in self, or self as in material form. So there are 4 ways of misunderstanding an aggregate. So this applies to all the other aggregates. If you take feeling, this individual regards feeling or vedana as self, or self as possessed of feeling, or feeling as in self, or self as in feelings. So it's about kind of a misunderstanding between the aggregates and the self. So this is how the identity, sakkaya ditthi arises in anybody, right? Now we're going to talk. Now, actually, this is the path of identity. So when we are into this kind of a thought system, when we are into this kind of a perspective, that means we are in the path of ego, or in short terms, identity. So we want to be brandized. We want to be labeled, right? So we possess, and then we see us in the 5 aggregates, right? Or we see aggregates in self, right? So a lot of confusions can go like this. So that is called we are into the identity issue. Now, what's the Buddha's innovation? What's the Buddha's presentation? He said we all need to cease this identity view, identity thing. When we cease identity or sakkaya ditthi, that means we are into the path of Eightfold Noble Path, actually, Majjhima Patipada, or middle path. What is the middle path, or Noble Eightfold Path? So now this sutra gives a very nice explanation about the Eightfold Noble Path, or the middle path. There are 8 components, and then this Visakha asks few questions about the Eightfold Noble Path. He asks, is the Noble Eightfold Path conditioned or unconditioned? If I ask you the question, what is being conditioned or non-conditioned? Not conditioned, actually. So conditioned means things and people who are made of something else, someone else. So we are conditioned, right? And also we know that everything that is around and beyond us, everything they are conditioned. What is not conditioned at this point is Nibbana, or which you're going to follow this path 4 actually. So he says the Eightfold Noble Path, or Noble Eightfold Path, is actually conditioned. Are the 3 aggregates included by the Noble Eightfold Path, or is the Noble Eightfold Path included by the 3 aggregates? Actually, there are different 3 types of aggregates in terms of the Eightfold Noble Path. They are not the aggregates that we talk about in the context of 5 aggregates. They are actually aggregates relating to the sakkaya ditthi concept, or identity concept. But here we talk about different 3 aggregates. What are they? Okay, we will see what they are actually in this context. They are the aggregate of virtue, or sila skandha, aggregate of samadhi, but that means aggregate of concentration, and aggregate of wisdom. Panya Kanda. Now, how are the 8 components of the Eightfold Noble Path included in these 3? So, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva. That means harmonious speech, harmonious, actions, and harmonious living. They are included in the aggregate of virtue. Now, actually, if somebody pose a question, how do we relate this middle path or the Eightfold Noble Path in our life? Because we usually see the 5 precepts is the main thing that applies to all of our life, especially for the lay people. But if you take a look of the Eightfold Noble Path, then you get to see that these 3, right speech or harmonious speech, harmonious action, harmonious living, those 3 are related to the virtue, actually, sila. And also right or harmonious effort, harmonious mindfulness, harmonious concentrations, they are related to the aggregate of concentration, samadhi. So this is very important, because a lot of people think that they only want to do mindfulness, but mindfulness does not it's not a standalone practice. It goes with another 2, right? Because you need to have some effort, right? You need to have some some types of effort to think that I need to be mindful. So that is right or harmonious effort. And then harmonious mindfulness. And then what happens to you is that what's the outcome of your mindfulness? You need the concentration. So then you get to the harmonious concentration. So keep in mind, right, or some harmonious effort, harmonious mindfulness, harmonious concentration, the 3 go hand in hand. And then Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, harmonious view, harmonious thought, they go hand in hand too. You may probably remember that we talked about the harmonious view of Samma Ditti a couple of weeks ago. But Samma Ditti is a kind of is the vision of our life, right? It's what we want to keep our perspectives inside, right? But what is our mission? The mission is Samma Sankappa. We should have harmonious thoughts. So what are the right thoughts or harmonious thoughts in this context? Avyapada Sankappa, Avihinsa Sankappa, and Nekkhamma Sankappa. So thoughts that are not harmful to others, right? Thoughts that are not instrumental in killing other people. Thoughts that are not nekkhamma means thoughts that are not helpful to build up more sensual pleasures. So these are the thoughts that Buddha talks about with harmonious thoughts. So anyway, so these 2, harmonious view, harmonious thoughts, those 2 go together, and those 2 are related to the aggregate of wisdom. So in short, these 8 components are included in these 3 aggregates. Once again, sila, samadhi, panya, aggregate of virtue, aggregate of concentration, aggregate of wisdom. Now Visakha asks a question about concentration, because this is what we expect to be with mindfulness, right? Not a lot of people talk about this thing. A lot of people talk about mindfulness, but in here, after mindfulness, there is a positive income of mindfulness, that is concentration. Concentration is a very bigger topic in us, but what is more important in the concentration is that are we into the proper context of concentration? That's what Visakha is going to ask from Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna. So we'll see the questions that are posed by Visakha. Katamo paneya samadhi. What is concentration? The answer is Chittassa ekaggata samadhi. unification of mind is the concentration. If your mind is unified, it's not dispersed in other thoughts, that is concentration. Katami samadhi nimitta, what is the basis of concentration? Chattaro satipatthana samadhi nimitta. So the basis of the concentration is 4 foundations of mindfulness, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Remember? We talked about the 4 foundations of mindfulness a couple of weeks ago. So they are the basis of concentration. So they are the things that we need to practice in order to be concentrated. And then the question, Katami samadhi parikkaro, what is the equipment of concentration? Chattaro sammappadana. So there are 4 kinds of striving. They are the equipments of concentration. What are they? There are 4 ways of striving to be in our life, right? Probably you might have heard this before in one of my talks. That is to reduce the unskillful, actions, thoughts, words that you already have. To reduce those, unskilled things. And then to improve the existing skillful actions, thoughts, and words. And sometimes you may learn that there are positive, skillful actions, words, thoughts from other people that you know, from peers and other people. So you think that, let them happen in my life. Let me try them if they are really, making sense to me. And also, you may probably feel that or see that there are unskillful actions, words, thoughts in other people that you don't have. You don't want them to happen in your lives. You just like you don't let them happen. Let them grow in your life. So to put effort to these 4 perspectives is the 4 kinds of striving. So that is a must. That is a mandatory thing in the concentration. And the last question about the concentration was Katama samadhi bhavanati. What is the development of concentration? Ya tesang yo dhammanang asevana bhavana bahulikam. The repetition, development, and cultivation of these same states is the development. So that means we need to develop, let them grow gradually in our life, so that we're going to experience the development of that concentration. So that's not a one-time thing. We need to practice as much as possible. Now, Visakha questions about formations, one of the aggregates, right? And then he questions about feelings, Vedana. So we're going to talk about those 2 today, and then we're going to go for the QA. Sankhara. There are now Dhammadina answers to him. There are 3 types of sankharas: Kaya sankhara, Vachi sankhara, Chitta sankhara. Sankhara means formations, right? Sankhara formations exist in different levels in Buddhism. So, for example, like now we basically know abhisankharas. Abhisankharas are the good karmas, right? Or the bad karmas, or the mixed karmas, or neither the good karma or the bad karma, right? So that is one type of sankharas. And the other type is sankharas that we see. Sankharas or formations mean in that context things that were made of something else, conditioned things, right? But in this context, sankharas are type of different things that relate to the identity. Kaya sankhara, Vachi sankhara, Chitta sankhara. The bodily formations, the verbal formations, and the mental formations. And then he asks, what are the bodily formations? And Bhikkhuni Dhammadina says, Assasa Passasa, in breathing and out breathing. Now when you do the breathing meditation, Anapanasati, The moment that you note that there is an in-breathing and out-breathing, and please try to understand that they are the kaya sankharas, nothing else, right? So they are the kaya, bodily formations. And then, what are the vachi sankharas? Vitakka vichara. What is vitakka? What is vichara? I think we talked about vitakka vichara last weekend. So now, when you note that there is an in-breathing and then there is an out-breathing, the moment that you note that this happens, then there is a vitakka arises. Vichara means type of gliding actually. Gliding means that you are abiding in that moment of thinking there is a note. Then the moment that you spend time in that note, that identification is vichara. So vitakka vichara. So once you have a vitakka, then what you're going to do? You're going to spend time in that vitakka, that means vichara. So vitakka vichara, so which we call thought, or applied thought and sustained thought, which means the nodding time and then the spending time of that nodding, those two are vachi sankhara, or the verbal formations. And then chitta sankhara. So what are the chitta sankharas? Sanyacha vedanacha. So what are the mental formations? Perception and feeling. What is perception? The moment that you identify anything, that is perception, right? You perceive things, and then what happens? With the perception, something else exists in you, arises in you, that is feeling. Okay? And there were a few more questions. Bhikkhuni Dhammadina, actually I'm not going to talk about all the questions because we have a limited time. I would tell you the answers. Then you could imagine the questions. In breathing and out breathing are bodily, these states bound up with the body. These states, in breathing, out breathing, they are actually bound up with the body. First, one applies thought and sustains thought, and subsequently one breaks out into speech. Now, if you ask somebody, how does the speech arise? Speech arises from the amalgamation of vitakka vichara. There's a noting, mental noting, and then you abiding sometime in that noting. So those two are the origin of your speech. But don't know, people sometimes don't think about. They just say things that they come up in their mind. I think it's also a part of, because you mentally identify something, right, before you talk in those nonsense too, right? So anyway, so they are related to the vitakka vichara, and so that you are going to speak. Perception and feeling are mental. They are mental. Those states bound up with the mind, right? The final one. Feeling. You know what is feeling? It's Vedana. And there are three types of Vedana. I think you all know. Pleasant, Sukha Vedana. Painful, Dukkha Vedana. Neither painful nor pleasant. Adukkha, Masukha. I'm going to brief the answers to these questions. Actually, Visakha was asking, how does pleasant feeling arise? How does painful feeling arise? How does neither painful nor pleasant feeling arise? And the Bhikkhuni Dhammadina says, she says that because of the lust, one gets to feel that there is a pleasant feeling, and because of the aversion, one gets to feel there is a pain, because we are conflicting with the things in that painful stage. Because of the ignorance, we get to feel there is a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. So it's actually it's a longer answer to that question, but I think I hope that you understood the the basics of the formations and the feeling at this point. Anyway, so our topic was, the main thing that you need to learn from this sutra is to understand the path of identity, within brackets ego, and the path of the Buddha that he told us, that is eightfold, a noble eightfold path, the middle path. So we need to find out which one are we into in our life. Are we actually, we are sometimes thoughtful about, okay, this is actually the path of identity, we really want to get out of that, and we think that the noble eightfold path is something really difficult to attain, but it's something really simple in this context. It says whenever you allow the path of identity, within brackets ego, to cease, right at that time you are into the middle path. So that is our understanding from this sutra. So if you have any questions, please ask those questions at this point.
I understand the ego and how you develop that, but that means your personality in a way.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But up to that point, you didn't give it a thought or anything, but you have a personality. How did that come?
Personality?
Yeah.
That's a natural thing, right? We all have the personality. We all have likes. We all have dislikes.
Yeah.
So now that's a pretty natural thing that we all have.
But how do you explain that according to the Dhamma?
According to the Dhamma, what happens in that identity thing, which has personality and likes, dislikes, is that we develop a clinging to the 5 aggregates.
Yes.
That is how this personality gets built up over time. But we don't know, it is a natural thing. We naturally allowing that to happen.
So that is something you bringing from maybe previous births, or
no, that's the human nature.
Right.
That's not only the human nature, that's the nature of the beings actually. As long as we get to know that there is a path that we can switch onto at some point, which is called the middle path, then we can make a very good transition from being in that identity perspective into the middle path perspective. It's a pretty natural thing. We can blame anybody for being such, but when we get to know the Dhamma, the Buddha's teaching, and we understand, oh, this is something really, kind of like terrible, and then we need to get out of this at some point. At least at some point. At least if you won't be able to get out, at least you know that you have to get out. Even that thinking is important, right? Otherwise, we all been developing this liking, this clinging to the 5 aggregates.
It's so deep, right?
It's a mental thing.
Yeah.
So that means a deep thing. But if you can give some thoughts over time and then on a daily basis, without disturbing our normal chores, normal activities in your life, it's a good thing. Then you develop that perspective over time that will really be helpful you to understand who are you and how I need to shapen my perspective with Dhamma actually.
There's so much I don't know about them.
No, it doesn't mean that.
It covers everything, right? The beauty of Buddhism is, and not rubbishly, it's intelligently.
Yeah.
It explains everything, right?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it is not easy though.
Well, I think that thing can come up in our mind whenever we are not very much sure about us, So actually this middle path, strengthens us to think about, hey, actually you get to know yourself really better than that you were supposed to think about or do. And then this is kind of a private type of understanding, and then you develop that understanding without disturbing you. Because Buddha said, do not mess up with your, mundane secular things with the transcendental thing like this. So you have to go hand in hand with those two, and then, but mentally you know that this is something that I really want to be in my life. So ceasing the path of identity is the objective in this sutra, so that you allow yourself to think about the middle path. If you have no more questions, we will wrap this up, right? Okay.
You have to be good. You have to be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's a personal thing. Okay, so let's share all the good karmas with the departed relatives and the deities at this point. May all the good karmas be shared by all the departed relatives. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Let's give a sadhu. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Also, let's share all the good karmas with the deities or heavenly beings. May they be happy and peaceful. May they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Let's give a sadhu and recite the stanzas. Ittavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sangpatti sindhya. Ittavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sangpatti sindhya. Ittavatacha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sangpatti sindhya. Finally, let's make a great wish. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating so far help all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana as well. Give a sadhu, and I'm going to bless you with a couple more stanzas. Abhivadana silissa niccang baddha pachayino chattaru dhamma vaddhanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha Ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminchatu.